Hi, welcome to the Online Learning Center. I'm Coach Mark Evans. Our video series, Swimming, Cycling, and Running, Fitness in Dryland, a Workout Whiteboard, and Question and Answers are about as if I was coaching you one-on-one, developing your technique. And you can see more of these videos at evanscoaching.com. However, this is a very special video. It's specifically exclusively for tritalk.com and my friend David Warden. Dave does a fantastic job with his podcasts, and the science and the research that he provides is something that I support 100%. Now, I don't always agree with Dave 100%, but most of the time I think he does a fantastic job. What I thought I would do for his listeners is go and look at his forum and review some of the questions and answers and comments about various swimming, cycling, and running elements. So I thought we'd take swimming, and I will discuss a few of the questions that I saw and sort of collectively put them together and provide you from my coaching perspective what I think is important. And we'll also put in some special video clips of Karlyn Pipes-Neilsen, a world masters record holder, of her swimming, demonstrating some of these techniques that I'm going to talk about. However, the very first thing that you need to do before you work on technique is have an assessment of your mobility, your strength, and your movements, your functional movements. You know, there's a lot of online coaching and a lot of coaches that don't necessarily ever see a client or see an athlete. And I think it's very important whether that coach or another professional looks at the way you're moving from a functional and strength and movement orientation. So with that said, your core, your hips, your glutes, the way your muscle links are expanding and contracting, all affect how you will be able to perform particular movements. And to be sure, swimming is a real hot topic amongst triathletes. And we see a lot of the reasons that that an athlete cannot perform certain movements is not just because of the fact that they haven't swam much or they're doing the wrong technique. Is because of their mobility and flexibility and core strength. You know, the core is tremendously important as providing a corset, stabilization, so you can execute certain positions and movement patterns. So let's talk a little bit. What I like to talk about in terms of coaching is lines. I like to think about the stroke, and even swimming or actually cycling and running, I like to use terms of body lines. And in swimming, the real key component is keeping your body position horizontal so that you can balance yourself like a scale from the front end to the back end, so that the tip of your hand to the tips of your toes are basically on the same level. And when you look at the video, the inserts that we're going to provide here, you will see that the horizontal position of the swimmer is right at the surface of the water. And many triathletes struggle with that, having their legs much lower than their hips and lower than their heads. You know, the head position is what is critical to helping you develop that horizontal position. Of course, bone density, body density is also genetically, a determinant as well. But let's just think about having your body as a scale. You're balancing one side to the next, tipping one side to the next. And what helps you the most is that extension and length of your stroke when you're moving your hand into the water. It will help you lengthen your body so that you actually can now balance yourself. So this hand out front, fully stretched, fully streamlined, will help balance your body in the water. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for you to develop your balance, but it's done with your headline being in the right position. And the headline relates to this specifically, that your nose and your sternum should be in alignment almost throughout the entire stroke. So that if you have your hand here and your other hand here, so when you turn to take a breath of air, you're going to have that alignment, that symmetry, that balance between the two. We don't want to turn your head here and have your chest and torso here. That's going to make you have asymmetrical movements. You're going to see crossing over, hips sliding to the left and the right. So we want rotation. We want your torso rotation to move with your chin and your nose. So everything's in alignment. Here's a real easy, and so that's for this rotational position. But what about the flexion and extension position? Or that is your head down or your head back in the water. So if you're laying flat in the water, we see a lot of people, I've seen hundreds of swimmers coming from various coaching methods, and they're trying to push their head down in the water in an attempt to get their chest low in the water, or what's called like swimming downhill or pushing your chest in the water. Well, what they end up doing is pushing their head way ahead of their shoulder lines, and that's part of the headline. What you should do is you should maintain, and this is key right here, you should have your ears in alignment with your shoulders. So if you're standing, if I'm standing, I want to stand nice and tall and neutral. If I'm swimming, I want to swim neutral, so that my head doesn't get to extension or flexion, which causes my ear line to get asymmetrical. So the headline is critical to that balance, that horizontal balance position that I was just talking about. So very important that all the time while you're swimming is that your ears are right over your shoulder line. And this is true for running as well. The next thing that I looked at in the forums was where you should enter your hands. And what I like to see, and what you'll see in Karlyn's videos, what I call the V line. And what we like is, I like you to have an entry more or less like this. So, you know, not quite 45 degrees, but very close to 45 degrees. And so what you're going to do is you're going to make that entry wide and then extend and reach, and during that extension is where you're going to grab that still water, and then it's going to allow and force those hips to rotate a little bit better as you're getting more extension. And then with a strong core, you're able to anchor your hand and then pull the water back. And you'll see Karlyn just executing this to perfection. So one of the things that you want to do when you're swimming and when you're working on these techniques is to devote a certain amount of time to it, a specific amount of time. Not each element is going to be learned in just one session. In fact, I like to tell athletes to devote at least 4 to 6 weeks to allow this adaptation period for you to learn, for your body to generate the synapses, the neuromuscular development. Far too often we see is where athletes will, each week or each new workout or each new magazine or each new video or each new whatever, they change and they don't give it enough time. Your body needs about 4 to 5 or 6 weeks to make these adaptations. And swimmers that I've worked with, triathletes that I've worked with, if they give this a good period of time to focus on their V line, to focus on their headline, at a very low intensity, and that's another very important point, is to keep the intensity low while you're learning. You know, if you're using 6 intensity zones, work at zone 1, maybe at the most zone 2 while you're trying to develop these foundations. And you want to build from these foundations. And to be sure, there's lots of things that you can talk about in swimming, but the headline is absolutely critical to build upon. And also the V line is that nice wide entry and length will help get your rotation, the torque, the rotation of the torso, and then you're able to engage all those larger muscles into the stroke. But you must do it with your head, even with your shoulders. So I want to thank you for watching the Online Learning Center, and I also want to thank TriTalk and David for allowing us to do this. I'm also wanting to thank Karlyn Pipes-Neilsen, a world record holder, Masters record holder, and also the author of a DVD. You can find that on aquaticedge.com. I want to thank her for her lending her video and footage to us here. And anyway, I'm Mark Evans, and I want to ask you to use these techniques and hoping that they'll help you make every movement better than the last. I'm Coach Mark Evans. Thanks for watching.